Apparently, you can overstimulate your nervous system and end up having sleepless nights during your January reset. Today is day 9 of my January reset. I'm taking a month off work, pursuing my passion projects before I turn 30. And I have run into an issue with my sleep. And initially, I didn't want to talk about that today. But I thought, hey, I'm being transparent, so I probably should be transparent about this too. So over the holidays, I definitely screw up my sleep schedule, being a night owl that I am. And then as this month started, it turns out that my attempts to have a normal sleep routine are non-existent. I can't seem to go to sleep even if I go and lie in my bed at 11 p.m. midnight. That's what I mean by early sleep, by the way, guys. Even if I take melatonin, I can't seem to fall asleep earlier than 2 a.m., sometimes 4 a.m. Tonight it was 5 a.m. and this was my last straw, so that is why I'm recording this video. And I thought it was due to screen time. I am somebody who enjoys having some TV running in the background. I definitely noticed that I have a harder time falling asleep if it's running all the way before my bedtime. And then considering that almost everything that I'm working on has to be on the computer or my phone, that has definitely affected, I thought that was definitely affecting my sleep as well. But it turns out that is not fully the case. And what the case is that my nervous system is too stimulated, it's too aroused before bed, so that when I do lie down, it is continuing to buzz, it's continuing to be extremely active, and it could get up and go for a run instead of understanding that it's time to wind down. So it's basically the function of winding down is not being heard because of how much mental activity I'm having throughout the day. And then on top of it, instead of the screens being the root cause, it turns out that they are more acting like an amplifier. So, my nervous system may be a bit more engaged and activated, but then the screens have been amplifying that significantly. And then with my routine already kind of off from the holidays, I'm basically every day reinforcing this cycle. And today I have had the final straw. I have woken up with the worst headache, and I'm getting them more often. And I am getting frustrated because all I want to do is go to bed before midnight, and I can't fall asleep no matter what. So going forward, we're going to be taking a few measures, and before I tell you what I'm going to be doing to try and fix this, in case this happens to you too, I did also want to take a moment to talk about, general well-being in general and how it can affect your month. Now, when we all plan to take a month off, and I'm actually very fortunate because I feel like this problem I can manage in a sense, but when we take a month off, we think is gonna go great. We think we're gonna have all the time in the world, and then errands come up and you realize, okay, we have a little less time than we want, especially if you have a family and kids. You can't just, remove those responsibilities just because you removed your 9 to 5. But something we forget about is, unlike those errands and stuff, which are kind of day by day, sometimes less, sometimes more, your well-being and your health can literally knock you out for a week or two. So, you can get the flu or something, and let's be honest, out of 4 weeks, you really have, 2, maximum 3 weeks left of productive work because you're out physically. And when your health is shit, then to be honest, all you're thinking about is how great it was to be able to breathe when you have a stuffed nose, and how great life was when your throat didn't hurt and stuff like that. And so I think it's very important to recognize and not feel horrible if things kind of go wrong. Not go wrong, but in the sense if you get a cold, or if something comes up, or you might be in the gym and you might pull a muscle. Anything can happen. And not to be hard on yourself. Yes, we're taking this month off. Yes, we ideally want it to be the most productive, but life happens, and just be gentle on yourself, understanding that we all go through this, even if this is not something that people post on their social media in their journeys. It can happen. It does happen. Happens a lot more than you think. And so just plan for that. Not plan physically maybe for that, but plan just mentally for that, in terms of like, hey, if something like this does happen, it's okay. Like, it is okay. So you don't feel frustrated in the moment. Now back to my situation with my sleep and headache issue. So the first thing that, and if you don't know, I use ChatGPT a fair bit for reasons to help me be smarter, not to be more lazier. So one of the things that I recommended I do, at least for the headache, is get some electrolytes, get some salt in me to help kind of clear that up. So I just did that. I'm drinking a lot of fluid, and I have also removed or like blinded all of my windows right now. It's a very dim setting in my home right at the moment, because even bright light is extremely irritating right now, and I wish I could be working on stuff, but I feel like probably the next few hours are gonna be complete write-off until this headache eases just a little bit. So that's the reality, but we need to not just fix this headache that came from me only being able to fall asleep at 5 a.m., but also the whole issue with me falling asleep at 5 a.m. So there's a few things that starting today are going to happen. First is I'm going to continue with my electrolytes, with my water intake, and I'm also going to add in magnesium. Apparently that is great, because I thought melatonin was going to solve it for me, but apparently in this state where I'm at, melatonin does absolutely nothing. So magnesium it is. Next, I have to treat this not as I need to go to bed earlier and I will fall asleep earlier. I need to treat this like jet lag. And when you treat it like jet lag, that means you are stuck in a new schedule no matter what. So going forward, starting tomorrow, I'm gonna wake up at 9, maybe 9:30, we'll see. It doesn't matter what time I end up falling asleep. This will help my body understand that the current cycle it's been working with is no longer being supported, and like jet lag, we now need to readjust to a new schedule. So I might be extremely groggy for the next few days, but I hope that if I have a set wake up time, instead of right now what I'm doing is, whatever time I fell asleep, I'll just wake up naturally when I'm rested, because I have that, ability to do so right now with no work, so I'm using it. I thought that was benefiting me, but it turns out I've just been promoting that cycle more and more, so we're gonna have to fix that. And lastly, because screen time, although is not the root cause, it is an amplifier, we are going to have to turn off screens or reduce them significantly before my bedtime. So no TV after 8, ideally even after like 7:30. And when it comes to recording content and stuff, I will be pushing myself to do it earlier in the day. The last few days I've been getting a bit lazy. I'd be focused on everything else, and then bedtime would come. I'd look at my clock and I'm like, oh no, all I want to do is go to bed, but I forgot to film my daily video. So I take a deep breath, I shake off all of my grumpiness, and I sit down and I record the video for you. But that just stimulates my brain. It makes me more awake and buzzing, and then it's harder for me to also fall asleep. So that's why right now, today, I decided, even though I wasn't I'm not feeling like anything right now. I decided, you know what, I'd rather just get this video out of the way. I chose the topic, which is, it is what it is, and yeah, so I'm doing it now so that when it comes to bedtime, I can just go to sleep. And same with phone, I will try and be done with my phone by 10, 11, and no longer looking at it, just so that I can readjust. My dream was to maintain my night owl lifestyle in the sense that I could work heavily because I feel most productive in the evenings, and then, you know, go to bed by midnight. But it seems to me that that heavy load so late in the evening is actually pushing my sleep time not to midnight, but closer to 2, 3, 4 a.m. And either I have to commit to that lifestyle and just do that, or I have to go back to being a more reasonable, normal human being with a more normal schedule, which also will mean moving most of the work that I do a little bit earlier up. So that will require a bit more discipline on my end, but I think it's worth the challenge because waking up in the state that I feel right now is not good for anyone. Not only am I up I was up after like noon today, but it's been 3 hours. I still have a horrible headache and I'm just losing so much time, and it's just reinforcing this pattern. So we're cutting it off starting today using those 3 tips, and I will give you a feedback in a few days if this is helping or not. If it's not, we'll find out another method, because I feel like this is a very real issue that could happen to you during your January reset. If you are so focused on all of your projects, if you are constantly strategizing, and all these factors can fall into play where you end up overstimulated before you go to sleep and are unable to go to bed because of this. So it's the reality. We're gonna try and fix it, and I'll keep you guys posted.